I could be wrong, but I've decided to make this video, and this video is going to be a bit different from all the other videos that I've done through the years. And in fact, it's going to be quite a bit different. I started off doing YouTube videos and blogging for my students when I was an educator, and my channel gradually evolved over the years to mainly just sort of being about my different adventures around the world, traveling, running and hiking and things like that. But from time to time, even in the videos that I've done, I've touched upon at least the topic of politics, not so much any specific political issues, but I have talked about the topic of politics. And one of the things that one of the points I tried to make about my feelings about politics and political discourse in particular is that nothing is more important than friends and family, even politics. Now, in the United States, we're definitely dealing with some very, very serious political issues right now. I'm not trying to say that they're not serious, but what I am saying is that if we really want to really come up with any kind of resolutions, we need to prioritize our friends and family and put that at the top, and maintaining good relationships with friends and family is more important than politics. As serious as these issues are, and they are serious, I don't want to minimize the seriousness of the political issues that we're facing today, but I believe that friends and family, and I consider my dog's family, so I guess you're in on this topic too, but I think it's we need to keep our friends and family at the top of our priority list, even above politics. And let me explain why that is. Even though these are some very, very serious political issues that we're facing today, I think that if we're really going to be able to come to any kind of resolution and overcome our political problems that we have today, I think it's going to come through understanding the importance of really respecting one another, friends and family, and really everyone. I think that it's a shame that these days, a lot of people can't even get together for a Thanksgiving dinner without worrying about, well, is Uncle Frank going to be there, and is he going to be talking about, these ridiculous ideas he has about, what's right and wrong for the United States, and am I going to have to put up with that, or no, we're going to get in a big fight and storm out and say, we never, want to have another Thanksgiving dinner together again. That's not good, and I think an atmosphere like that is not going to help us, solve these political problems that we have, and figure out what is the right direction for the United States to head, and how should we deal with these different issues that we have. And so how did we get to this state and where we are right now with such a great polarized, political environment that we have? It seems like you really can't, be on the middle ground. It's if you want to have any kind of a discussion with somebody, the only way you can have any kind of civil discussion is find somebody that's on your side and 100% on that side, or if you're on that side, on that side. And then if you have anybody that has many different ideas that might represent the other side, then it's just going to be an argument. And so how did we get to where we are? Social media it drives me crazy. When I'm on Facebook or, see something on YouTube or wherever it is I'm seeing it, it's really discouraging. And now it's not that I don't, I'm on Facebook, not probably as much as a lot of people, but I do go to Facebook to see what's happening, with other people that I know around the world, and just sort of see what people are doing. But on my Facebook feed, it drives me crazy, all the stuff that I see. These people supposedly expressing their political opinion, and frankly, I don't even think they're expressing any kind of political opinion. They're just trying to make people on the other side of whatever their perspective is seem foolish, and make fun, and make hateful comments about people who don't see things the way that they do, and try to make it seem as though you've got to be an idiot if you don't believe the way they believe. When I was teaching, one of the things that I would say to my students sometimes when controversial topics would come up, and maybe they would be arguing with one another, or trying to talk about why their side, why their perspective is correct. I would tell them, you're not going to change anybody's mind by insulting them, and that's what I see in social media a lot, especially on Facebook. Facebook, I think, is the worst example of unproductive and destructive discourse on really lots of topics, but definitely politics. And so, yeah, I tell my students, you're not going to change anybody's mind by insulting them. So all these people out there that are making these posts that a lot of times they're just sharing something that's they've seen on Facebook, and they think, oh yeah, I agree with that, and share that. I'll talk about more about that in a minute, because a lot of times what they're doing is sharing disinformation and stuff that's wrong, but it supports their perspective, so they go ahead and post it. And this happens on both sides of the issue, by the way. So I'm not pointing the finger at one, I'm pointing the finger at us all. And in fact, I think, early on in the days of Facebook, when I was a bit more naive, I probably fell victim to maybe some of that, and not doing my due diligence and fact checking things before I would share them, and I very rarely do I share anyway. So insulting people and thinking that you're being persuasive and enlightening people by insulting them and suggesting that since they believe the way they do, they're a complete idiot, and making jokes about them, that's not going to change anybody's mind, and it's not going to help the situation at all. Whether you're right or whether you're wrong, it's just going to cause a greater divide between different perspectives. And I'm going to do my best in this particular video to avoid making references to Republicans or Democrats, liberals, conservatives, whatever. I'm going to do my best to do that. And so I think when I talk about the different ends of the perspective, I think I'll just refer to something like apples and oranges, okay? So you can make up your own mind whether or not an apple is a liberal or a conservative, and vice versa with the orange. But we definitely have this very polarized environment now where we're trying to have some sort of productive discourse, and I think that's very unproductive. And when in reality, if we looked at everybody individually and everybody sort of thought about, how do you feel on any particular issue, I think that a lot of people would find themselves not at one extreme or another, but at somewhere in between. And in fact, on different topics, you might lean more towards apples on one subject, and on another topic, you might lean more toward the oranges. That's just the way it is. But in today's highly polarized environment, it's really hard to even understand how you as an individual really see things. So how did we get so polarized? that's sort of what I'm hoping that this video and future videos. This like I said, this is a very different video than any videos I've done before. And in fact, I'm starting a whole new channel just for this video, and we'll see how this goes. I don't know how it will go. This might be the only video I put up on this new channel that I'm going to create. But if it looks like we can get some actual productive conversation going from everyone, and I'll keep this channel going and do some more. And there's some things that I want to address. And first off, I think if I do another video, I'll probably talk a little bit more about how did we get into this situation where we're so polarized. And in fact, I'll touch on one thing real quickly here. And before I was an educator, I was an arts administrator. And as an arts administrator, I wrote a lot of grants. And actually, even as an educator, I wrote a lot of grants. And but when I was during my graduate studies, when I was taking some arts administration classes in my graduate program, one of the things that they talk about in arts administration is fundraising and writing grants. And one of the things that they would tell you that if you want to write a successful grant, you want to create a sense of urgency with the whomever you're asking for support from. You want to make it seem as though that this is not only do they need to give you some funds, but this is something that's really urgent, and we need to make it happen now. Don't wait till tomorrow. Get your checkbook out now. Create that kind of sense of urgency. And politics is very much the same way. Fundraising, campaign financing is a very big part of whether or not your candidate is going to be successful. You have to raise enough money. So fundraising is a part of that. And they definitely know how to create a sense of urgency. And one way to create a sense of urgency is to create fear. And this is true on both sides. I think that's something that we need to recognize. And so I think in future videos, if I do another video, we'll see how this one flies. That's one thing that I'll talk about. And there's also, and all of these things apply to whether you're an apple or you're an orange. It applies. It applies to you and me. Yeah, I found myself guilty of cognitive bias in a number of forms. Confirmation bias for one, and things like that. So basically what that means is that, when you see all this, you get all this information out there on Facebook and social media and even in more traditional news resources. And if it looks like something that, agrees with, that will support my perspective, that's easy for me to read that article and say, yep, okay, that confirms how I feel about it. But if I see the headline and it looks like it might disagree with my perspective, it's kind of hard for me to go on and read that and not just dismiss it. But really, I think it's important that I go ahead and read that article, as much as I might disagree with it, but I might get something else out of it. And so one more thing that I want to talk about before I end this video is in the past, I have known lots of people. I have friends and family. This is why I say friends and family, that has to be the most important thing, even above these very serious political issues we're facing today. And I have had friends, all the way back to my high school years, some very good friends, and I cherish their friendship. I don't see that much of them now, only maybe at a class reunion. And, I fear that, if we ever had a political discussion between some of these really good friends that I still cherish today, that maybe it would be difficult for us to have a civil conversation about these political topics. But I also remember, even back, maybe a decade or so later than that, I've had other friends that I know tend to lean more towards one direction than I do. One individual in particular, although there's more than one, but I remember this was actually was an in-law of mine, And I really enjoyed getting together with him. And we on most political topics, we tended to lean different directions. But I enjoyed having those conversations, talking about these issues with him, because he was indeed a very intelligent person, and I would never try to support my perspective by saying that he's an idiot for thinking what he thinks, because I know that he's an intelligent. In fact, I believe that he has several degrees, and I think one of them is actually from an Ivy League school. I think he went to Brown or some school like that for one of his degrees. And actually, on the issue of politics in general, he's, I'm sure, is much more well-read than I am, because he has a law degree, and in fact I think he's just recently retired from being a judge. And I know he's an intelligent person, and I know he's a good person. Everything that he does, I think he truly believes that he's doing what's right, and I respect him for that. And when we would have these discussions, even though we disagreed on issues, I would come away with some of those discussions actually learning something, and actually change my perspective a little bit, whether or not I was able to persuade him to see things a little bit differently or not, I don't know. But I do feel that I at least had his respect. And I think that if we're going to really resolve any of these very serious issues we have, we need to start respecting one another and entering into not being afraid to talk with people who disagree with us, and open our minds. They may or may not, change the way you see things, and you may not be able to change the way they see things. But I think that by simply respecting one another will crack open the doors a little bit. And I really think that that's where we need to start, and that's where I'm going to start with this video. And I'm hoping that maybe I can, open the door a little bit further as we talk about some other issues. And I've been very ambiguous about my political perspective, and that might be frustrating some of you. So I will tell you that if I do more videos, I will share how I feel about some specific political issues. And it's true. There are some things that I might have a perspective where I'm a little bit more of an orange over here, and a little bit more of on a different political topic, I might be a little more apple. So, but it's true that in terms of Republican, Democrat, right, left, liberal, conservative, I do lean a little bit more towards one of those. And I will be, in future videos, a little more open about that, so that we can share those things. But you know what? There's a reason I've decided to name this channel I Could Be Wrong, because I could be wrong, and maybe you can help me see where I am missing the point a little bit. So I welcome comments, and the only thing I ask, if you're making a comment directly to me and you want to try to insult me, if you think I'm a complete idiot and you want to tell me so, go ahead. But I'm encouraging people, no matter what your perspective might be, to make comments. And if you reply to another person's comment, all I ask is that you be respectful, and try to make this channel a productive venue to where we can really address some of these important issues. Whether it's, immigration is probably at the top of the list now, but it's, there's, Second Amendment rights, there's tax policies, things like that. And, a lot of these things, even just on that one issue, tax policies, there's sometimes where I will agree with the side that typically I don't agree with on tax policies, where on other policies, like I said, I'll be, a little more consistent. We might even talk about religion a little bit. Oh my gosh, that might be one of the most controversial, but we'll see. But I'm hoping that this is a channel that we can come together as friends and family. And if you're following my videos, I consider you a friend. Hopefully we can respect one another, and maybe even take this highly polarized environment that we live in together and actually bring us together a little bit, and maybe create an environment where, we might actually be able to come to some sort of an agreement. So there it is. There's lots of things that I want to talk about. There's some books that I've read. I'll talk about some books that I've read that have helped me, and some of them are even kind of humorous. I think maybe if I do another video, I might talk about one a book that actually starts off a bit more humorous, about giving some a book that I've read called Factfulness. And early on in the book, it talks about giving a test about, understanding different topics and questions, and giving a test to a bunch of chimpanzees. And then I think it was maybe a bunch of college professors, that actually are definitely people that have a lot more information about these topics and than chimpanzees, and seeing how these supposedly well-informed people, how well they did on the test compared to the chimpanzees. And just as a bit of a spoiler, I'm going to tell you, the chimpanzees did better on the test. So I think that'll be the next video that I talk about, where I at least start off with that particular book. So, all right. So, hopefully you found this, my craziness a little bit interesting, and hopefully you've seen a little bit of wisdom in my philosophy of putting friends and family above everything else, even though that these topics that we will be talking about in the future are indeed extremely important subjects. So yeah, we'll see where this channel might take us. So in the meantime, as I say in some of my other videos, happy trails.